You get it all figured out there, champ?
I think so, man. I think so. You should check in on me and see if it's working.
I'll check in on you.
The only thing is that it's so shaky,
It's because you're banging on your fucking desk like an amateur.
like an amateur, bro. Like a fucking amateur. There we go.
There you go. That works.
Right? That works. Maybe do it like that. There we go. Got the live now. Twitch.tv/infinite rabbit hole. People will be like, oh shit. I know where I can watch that now.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, buddy.
And then I only need to go live one more time on TikTok in order to be able to pin comments.
If I had another phone mount stand, maybe I'll buy one. I could like stream my screen too, which has all of it and audio
Yeah.
because you're coming out of the speakers. Why can't I
Ooh.
open this can? Am I fucking idiot?
Speaking of that shirt, Jeffrey,
Yeah, you like my shirt? I made it.
you did not.
We all know Katie made it.
That's right. She slaved over that. She sweated on that.
Are you gonna battle me for likes on the?
Is that what's happening right now?
Oh yeah, look at all them likes. Look at them all.
That's Jeff and I.
I'm gonna make believe it's not. I'm gonna make believe it's other people.
No,
Yeah. Oh, that's a lot of likes.
I liked first.
That's a lot of likes. You can now customize the badge and stickers. What does that do for me?
Helps the algorithms apparently.
Oh, algorithms.
All right, I'm out for right now.
That's 523 likes. That's a lot of likes. That's a lot of likes. Dig that.
There's no way to have the audio come out on your speakers so your TikTok can see it or hear it, huh?
I don't.
Oh, yeah, well, you'd have to not do headphones, but
I gotta try to figure that out.
you want a Mac?
Do I want a Mac?
Or are you on a Mac?
No.
You're on a PC?
Yeah.
You don't have
Well, I'm gonna-
speakers?
I have speakers.
If you unplug your headphones, it'll probably just work.
It'll probably be a wicked echo.
No, because this has noise cancellation. Like you can never hear an echo on mine, right?
Sometimes, but then I tell you, and then you do something, and then it goes away.
But we select the
I
mode.
I select noise cancellation,
Yeah.
and it makes it go away.
Really?
You could select it on Riverside when you're logging in. You just select I'm not using headphones, and it'll.
How about we try that next time?
And
Because
then
if I take it off right now, I don't think I could put it back on
Yeah.
if it doesn't work.
Well, and then right to the side, if you're on the People tab.
Yeah.
You can see it right there. It says echo cancellation, and it'll show if it's on or off.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, it says this can't be changed while recording.
Is it on right now or is it off?
It's off for me.
Oh.
We just leave it permanently on.
I can see yours on, yeah.
Well, sucks to suck.
Well, yeah, it does. It's all right.
Now you're at a nice 550.
66 followers on Twitch.
So, yeah, we got another one last night. Yeah, man, cruising. We gained 2 yesterday, I think.
You were at 65.
Were we?
Yeah.
Oh, just shoot me down, Crystal. Thanks.
Well, needs to be right.
Don't get too excited, Jeremy. You still suck.
But yes, you did. Spectrum Assassin subscribed yesterday, though.
Yeah.
He was already following, but you got another subscribe.
Spectrum was hammering off with some good ones. I liked the questions coming from Spectrum yesterday. Some really good questions.
Yeah, he sent me a long thing like a week or two ago. He sent me his whole theory about the universe. I mean, it's pretty similar to URT in a lot of ways. Obviously, it's not, as I don't know the word. I don't want to sound offensive. It's not as refined, I guess, if you will, right? But it's interesting because a lot of people who like go down that rabbit hole of like, what is the universe and like how is it working, right? If they're looking at it from not a traditional academic point of view, right? A lot of them come to like a lot of similar things, right? Like, the universe is a vibration or a resonance, right? It's the same thing in people's minds. It's just the semantics of it all. And obviously Mike has it down to like a science, right? Versus just like us hippies just saying it,
Yeah.
But yeah, Spectrum Assassin is here. Got here a little late, but I'm here earlier than yesterday. Yes, you are, brother man.
That's right.
Yes,
That's right.
you are. Our guest today had something come up, so we don't have Micah Dank with us tonight. So we're going to shoot from the hip, I'm guessing, and just kind of fill a slot for the episode because neither one of us really like prepared anything for this week. We were hoping to have Micah just kind of talk at us for an hour, but what
We
can
have
you do?
I got a few things we can fill it up, some hypotheticals, and then we could talk about
Let's argue
I've
about something.
argue about something.
Yeah, let's argue about something. Pick a topic that we can just fucking rage at each other for the next 2 hours.
We could. I think people like that.
Lower my vibration, dog.
Well,
I
let's.
prefer he argues with you. So.
Well, you could just cut him off. He'd be like,
Oh.
Me and Crystal don't argue.
Close.
We don't argue. We have a lot of the same.
It's been 3 years and we haven't argued.
Not a single argument. You believe that?
It's been 3 minutes since I've argued with my wife.
It's been at least 8 because you're on here for 8 minutes.
No, she just texted me about something.
Well,
she was like,
shit about her on the internet.
I don't. She was like, are you saying shit? And I was like, I didn't even say anything. She was like, fuck you. And I'm like, all right.
Be better, Jeremy. Jesus.
What are you doing, Jeremy?
Be a better husband, you fucking terrible husband.
I'm awful. Just awful. All right, well, let's get this started. Y'all ready?
Y'all ready for this?
Y'all ready for this? All right.
All
right. Welcome back to the Infinite Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Jeremy, and tonight we don't have a guest because our guest canceled. It happens. It's not the first time, won't be the last. But they said that they will reschedule. I will give you a bit of a teaser for next week. As long as that one goes through, we have a, I don't really know how to explain it. It's going to be a bit of a surprise. It's going to be a different feel to the show altogether. Somebody reached out to me, and if she says who she said, if she is who she says she is, which I'm actually, as time goes by, gaining confidence that she is, it's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be pretty cool. Thoughts, Jeff?
Sorry, I muted myself. She's probably not. She's probably an Indian call center person. She's gonna get on here and be like,
just ask her for like a Facebook video.
Do you need a car warranty?
That's messed up, man. That's messed up. I'm telling you, man, I think she is. I think she is exactly who she says she is. I have a feeling that she's going to come on and she's going to tell us some crazy shit, and it's going to blow everybody's minds. And I think that you're gonna really like it because it's right up your fucking alley.
Probably.
Which alley?
The
Yeah.
music alley,
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
the music industry.
Wasn't sure which.
For sure. I mean, look, there's a lot of crazies in this line of work, if you will, right? So we're all crazy on some level. So as long as it's a
Well,
good conversation, even if she's not who she says she is, as long as it's an interesting conversation, I guess that's what matters, huh?
yeah. I mean, basically, it's gonna be a conversation that mixes the occult with the music industry. That's about as far as we can go with it right now. And then the rest will just have to be a surprise for next weekend.
Yep,
Can't really go farther than that.
for
But
sure.
so I saw that you were spying on NASA again today.
Yeah, I went to the beach. We haven't gone to the beach in a while, so we went down to the beach, and I like to go. I don't like people, right? I don't like to be surrounded by schmucks that I don't know. It's uncomfortable, and everybody knows when you go to the beach, it's just packed and it's annoying. And so we drove a little bit further, and we went to a beach right across the street from the Space Force base. And then yeah, NASA was a few miles off to our side, but you could still see it. I'm always out there just keeping an eye. You never know any funny business going on. I got to make sure I'm on the up and up. So,
Right.
but I was really hoping to see, because normally when I drive, past that road during the day at work and stuff, a lot of times the Space Force base, like they're doing like flight drills and stuff, like right over that beach. So I was kind of hoping to see like a C-130 or some Blackhawks flying around, like while I was chilling at the beach. They weren't, but it's all good. Maybe next time.
Bro, I picture you in like full seaweed ghillie gear with like a monocular.
See, here's the problem with that, right? With infrared camera technology and things of the sort, if I did that, they would find me, and then it'd be a problem. Whereas if I go out there dressed as a civilian, I'm just fishing, bro, right? I'm just at the beach, bro, my flip-flops, they're none the wiser.
Yeah. Well, mm, I don't know. You could just blend right in with a patch of seaweed. I mean,
Honestly,
how many patches of seaweed is there around the Cape, man? There's got to be a lot.
it's actually not there's like certain areas, but for the most part, because there's so much traffic out there, like so many people like enjoy this area for vacationing and things like that, like a lot of it is like pretty well maintained, like I don't know what you call them, the water, the people who like maintain the water out there. So NASA, all of the Cape is like protected wildlife reserve, and then they have like their own teams of people that go out and like clean up the seaweed and the algae and the all the stuff out there too. So it's like, even though it's wilderness and it's like protected natural preserve, other than where they put their fucking launch pads, which is weird. Like they're cool to tear up shit and like build a launch pad, but God forbid I make a campfire with some wood lying around. But
You get screwed, man.
yeah, they do controlled burns and stuff out there. Like it's pretty well kept. So
Well, so
yeah.
So, Mike and I, after last night's episode, we kind of sat back and hung out. Bless you. We kind of sat back and hung out a little bit and bullshitted a little bit. Talked about URT, talked about the episode, talked about what we can do, in the future for some ideas for some upcoming episodes and everything. And he asked me. He said, honestly, what's your guys' thoughts behind it? He goes, I'm catching on to the gist of the show. You and Jeff have different mindsets on things. And he goes, I'm getting the feeling that Jeff's a little bit more open to this. He goes, "What? Am I right?" And I said, "Yeah. Jeff. I think Jeff's pretty open to all this." He goes, "What about you?" And I said, "I'm not gonna lie to you. When I first heard it, um, you know, I have the science blocker on, right? Physics blocks my judgment sometimes, and but when I was messing with Urus, I would go back and basically reverse engineer the main answer to a big question. So, for example, I would ask it, um, what is human consciousness? It'd give me an answer. And I'd be like, okay, I could see this, but it conflicts with something that I was taught or learned somewhere down the line. So I would take key concepts of its answer and reverse engineer it with its own answers. So I would ask it to basically explain this bit of its answer, and keep going all the way back down to its elementary bits so that I can learn where it gets its basis from. And after I did that with a bunch of different questions, everything from black holes to ice ages to quantum physics, I started getting more comfortable with it. And that's what I was telling them. And then we started getting into a bigger conversation along the lines of, do we think that the scientific world is ready for something like URT? And I told him, I said, I'm going to be honest with you, man. I don't think that you're going to be welcomed with open arms. And I said, it doesn't mean that I don't think that you should keep pushing. I said, I think you should let URT talk for itself and continue to learn it yourself. But you're going to get extreme pushback. I think it was Planck's principle. And I think this is like one of the first big talking points that we could really dive into here on the show tonight. Planck's principle. I believe, I don't know the exact wording of it, but it was something along the lines of science only advances one funeral at a time. Basically, the concept is science is fickle, right? People spend their entire lifetimes dedicated to studying one concept, whether it be Einstein and his different theories on gravity, his relativities. As soon as something comes along and dismisses relativity, anybody who spent their lifetime on that is going to push back on it, especially if they have tenure in a prestigious college. They've authored many books. They've helped with Nobel Prize laureates. They're going to push back, and the community is going to neglect the new evidence. Once that person's funeral happens and a couple other funerals happen, then you start getting more acceptance of new themes, new sciences. We see this now. We see it all the time. I mean, we originally saw this with the Earth-centric model, right? With the Catholic Church, right? Back when it was thought that the Earth was the center of the universe,
Right.
and Galileo came out and said, "Hey, I think that the sun might be the center of not just the universe, because I don't think we're anywhere near it, but I think that we all revolve around the sun, and that the sun revolves around something even bigger than that."
Did I just cut out?
Yeah, you just cut off your mic too.
Is it back on?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Yes or no?
No.
God damn it. It's not going to let me change it.
Nope.
Let me back out. Just hold tight.
Yeah, got you, bud. Soupy poopy. I don't know who you are. What's up, man? We got 8 people in here. What's up? Oh, it looks like we had a couple people on TikTok. What's up, TikTok? Sorry, guys. Some technical problems. Spectrum. They won't accept it because they can't do the math for such broad claims. If we turn it into a mathematical structure that doesn't rely on metaphysics, only then will they accept it.
Is that better? Did I
Yeah.
fix it?
Yep. That sounds better, man.
Sorry, my cable's fucking loose, man. You breathe on it wrong. You look at it sideways and it fucking. But you know, like, listen. Were you just reading a question from a?
No.
Chat?
I was just going over some of the stuff in the chat, man. You're good.
Well, look, man, I've said this so many times on this show and on Shadowban, man. Like, the biggest issue isn't that, like, kind of like what you were saying, right? Like, you have this blocker, this physics blocker, right? The scientific, like, things that you were taught in the past, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're right on the academic side, and like the actual like higher ups and like the people who tell us what the fucking truths are or whatever, you know, they have to deal with that on like another level, right? Like you said, because you know they're all invested in a certain thing and they're getting grants from governments to study certain things
Mm-hmm.
and all this kind of stuff, so they're really locked into like a certain set of physics and a certain way of thinking about things and how to test things and all that kind of stuff. But just for the regular schmuck out there, like it's similar in the sense that, you know, we're all told what is fact, right? And the thing is, going back in history, like you were saying, where they used to talk about like the earth was flat, or, you know, heliocentric versus, you know,
There you
earth
go.
right?
Yeah, I was trying to think of it.
You know, we're told from those on high what is the truth, what is the fact about the world we live in and the universe we live in. So it's very hard for people to like separate themselves from those things that are fact and explore the possibility of new ideas, right? Like, just
Yeah.
generally speaking, which is, you know, this is why I always take the route of, well, not always, but, you know, I try to take the route of things that I can prove for sure that people just think are conspiracies, right? Like, this is why I always go back to chemtrails and weather modification, right? Because when you say the word chemtrails, people are like, okay, here goes this guy again with his
Mm-hmm.
chemtrails. But I can clearly, and I've done it with you and many other people, I could walk you through the steps and point to you exactly how this is true, where the facts are, and all that good stuff. And by the end of that, you're like, okay, yeah, they're real, right? So when you start to like open some of those doors, it makes it a lot easier to take in some new alternative information and consider the possibility that that might be closer to truth than what we're told by those on higher up. Right now, lucky for you and other people, like we've done this for years now, right? So, you know, when Mike comes in with this URT thing, you know, even though you still kind of have that physics block on whatever you're talking about with him, you know, you're way more, I see it, right? Like, I see from an outside perspective, I see you as more open to these types of things now than 4 or 5 years ago. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? Just
Yeah.
because we've gone through this so many times. So
Yeah. Well, so like the first thing that popped in my head once our guests canceled tonight, I've been going down a ton of rabbit holes, and we've had pretty, you know, lengthy lists of guests pop up. You know, we've had Mike 3 weeks in a row now, and then we're gonna have a good couple weeks of guests coming up right after this. So I had written down a list of topics. I just don't have it near my desk. It's upstairs. I wasn't expecting it because he literally just canceled 15 minutes before the recording. Um, but one of the things that I wanted to talk about eventually, which I thought would make a good episode, was just the general topic of closed-mindedness versus open-mindedness. Because when we first started this podcast, or at least when you first joined this podcast, right? I think we meet closer in the middle now. But we used to be much further apart. I used to be very closed-minded, and you were very open-minded, and I think you still are a very open-minded person. and I'm still, I still have the blockers on from physics and stuff, shit that I learned from school. Um, but perspectives change, and I think that's good for us. And now that we live in this world where you have all this information at the tips of your fingers. Man, this isn't anything new. Everybody knows this. But it comes down to a mentality and tribalism that really affects how your personal open or closed mindedness affects the way that you absorb this information and then you regurgitate it back out into the world. Now, just as well as I do, if we're just going to stick with the chemtrails topic, if we go up to a group of 10 people, 10 strangers that don't know each other at all, just pick 10 random people in the continental United States, we say, hey, do you believe in chemtrails? There's a pretty good chance that we're going to get a wide range of different answers. Everything from absolute yes to absolute no to somewhere in the middle with, and then somebody's going to have a long elongated explanation about why yes but no in some certain senses, and some people are going to even tell you about cloud patterns and stuff, and they're going to tell you that, oh well, if you see this then it's definitely not because these are normal weather patterns. And then some people are going to tell you the same thing about the exact same cloud pattern but tell you why it is, right? It all comes down to who you've been around, tribalism part, right? The influences that you have, and then your own personal open-mindedness, closed-mindedness. I think that if anything, being a part of Infinite Rabbit Hole has really helped out personally with these topics, is that I've become more aware of where I stand or where I tend to migrate to when it comes to some of these topics. And I'm more aware that I tend to divert directly towards a specific type of answer, more academic. I hate saying that because I've never even finished school for this shit, right? But that's technically the route that I would go, right? The textbook answer, if you will. And I try hard to fight that. I do. And I think that if more people could see that in themselves, we would progress a lot faster, because the chemtrails is a really good example, right? I mean, if you really do just take a second and look at all the evidence that's there, it doesn't take a genius to realize that they're putting shit into our air.
Yeah. Well, like, and there's nothing wrong with like defaulting to like reasoning using like methods that you've learned already, right? Like the academic side of it, right? There's nothing wrong with that. I think that over time, you like you in particular have realized that number one, I speak hyperbolically, right? It's I'm trying to be entertaining at the same time as I'm bringing up like dark, creepy topics about some of these conspiracies, right? Like it's heavy stuff sometimes. And I realized over the course of my life, right? Because I've been into this way longer than I've been podcasting, right? Podcasting was just something that came about after years of being in this kind of like mindset. And I've realized just in my personal life, like you can never really get through to people, even if they believe what you're saying, if it's too heavy, like they want to block it out because it's just easier. Like ignorance is bliss, right? It's easier to just live your life normally and not consider the fact that they're spraying chemical aerosols all over you all day long, right? So I speak hyperbolically. I think you've realized that over the years. I say things like space is fake, but when we really get into the conversation for, I mean, how many hours have we talked about that? Like 100 hours, probably all accumulative, right? Like, you understand what I'm saying now when I say space is fake. It's not that there's nothing there. It's just that the information that we're getting as a whole about the information from space just isn't complete and most likely manipulated or covered up in some way, right? Whatever that is. And, and that goes with any of these topics. So I think that helps a lot when you're talking to people, like bringing an entertaining aspect to it, um, making people think like, what is this guy talking about? Space is fake. Like, is he stupid?
Yeah.
But then you get into it and you're like, oh, I see what he's saying. He's just saying like we're not, just like Mike was saying the other night, like we're not even peering out into space with the full spectrum of, you
Hmm.
know, sensors and all that kind of stuff. We're not even catching all the information and all the data coming at us, right? So when they tell you like this is the fact of the thing, I'm the first one to be like, bullshit, because there's no way all of the information, because I know that you're not capturing all the data, whether it's space or weather modification or
Right.
interdimensionals, stuff like
Well,
that.
that's a really good point. That feeds right into what I was talking about. There are those people, and I'll count myself in on that at one point in my life. I'm not there anymore, but I will question that now. But there are those people that will take that just because it came from the mouths of somebody in NASA that said, "This is what this is." That is exactly what it is. And no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's the definition of what that is, and there's no question.
Right.
Until proven wrong, that's what it is. But we've learned that these definitions change dramatically, and it's very fluid. It's not static at all, right? It seems like everything's changing more than it's staying the same. There's no stagnant anything in science, especially when it comes to astronomy or anything having to do with the study of the universe. Um, Saying that we understand anything that goes on outside of the orb that we live in, if you believe that it's a globe, right, is ignorant at best. It's it's silly to think that we have any of it figured out. It really is.
Yeah. 100%, man. That's the biggest problem. That's why I used to have that shirt that I used to sell. It said "Trust the experts" on the front, and it was in
Yeah.
quotes. And then on the back, it listed like the Holmesburn Prison Project, MK Ultra, all these like programs that were like today. If the public like truly knew that those types of things were happening, it'd be outraged. Like we would, governments around the world would get overthrown overnight because you'd be like, "What are you doing?" Right? So there's that whole thing. But then, you get into like when you see it, and we all saw this during like COVID and stuff pretty heavily, when you have like repeated propaganda is the word I'll
Hmm.
use, right? When you hear like media personalities, celebrities, like, the news, politicians, and they're like regurgitating the same exact talking points word for word. Like everybody's seen like that video compilation of like all the news anchors talking about um what they were talking about, safe and effective, right? Wasn't that like the
Yeah.
thing?
Yep.
And and it's like 1,000 fucking news people all saying the same lines exactly the same way. And it's like when you start to think outside of like, hey man, maybe these people don't really know what's going on, and you see stuff like that, you realize like you are being propagandized on so many levels for so many things. It's only a matter of time before we start, and we're already doing it, right? Like with weather modification and chemtrails. Like it was such a fringe topic not that long ago. Whereas now, like I have seen on the news that guy who ran the company, what's it
Yeah,
called?
I know you're talking about the
You
guy that
know,
was on Sean Ryan.
same guy, right? And
Yep.
like they're openly talking about weather modification now. They're openly talking about spraying aerosols into the atmosphere to manipulate rain patterns and all this type of stuff. So it's interesting to me like how quickly some of these quote unquote conspiracies turn into, oh shit, that was right, that was true, just because I think the internet, I think because people are talking about this kind of thing. um there's a lot of that, man. I mean, like, you could see it right now, what's going on with the whole like Russiagate thing, not to get political, but like that's another big
Hmm.
one. That was a big conspiracy back a few years ago, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh, oops, nope, turns out conspiracy confirmed, right?
Yeah,
It's all the time.
Augustus Dorgo.
What's the
That
name
was
of
a good.
his company?
I can't remember.
It's like Rainmaker.
Rainmaker or something. Yeah,
Yeah, some
I
shit
think
like
you're
that.
right. But no, it's so I catch flack all the time on this show for not watching movies, right? Little do you guys know, because you guys, nobody knew of who the fuck I was before COVID, because I started this during COVID. But prior to COVID, I used to love watching DC comic movies, right? Never was a big Marvel fan. Never really dug anything from Disney. I have kids and I got to watch the Disney cartoon movies and stuff, but um, I like DC stuff, right? And I love horror movies. I love sci-fi movies. I used to look forward to uh certain actors and shit, and I used to get caught up in that stuff. COVID hit, and that was one of the biggest eye openers of mine in my entire life. I mean, I'm sure that was the same for a lot of people, but just to give my side of that story, the amount of propaganda that was pushed to us by the Hollywood elite, by shit athletes and anchors on news channels and politicians and musicians, and I mean, it is sickening, the tools that they were using to try to get you to do something, to get you to fall in line, and the lines that they were just feeding these people, like they weren't even thinking, man. It was just, read this line, and it was the same bullshit that they were forcing everybody around the fucking world or around the country to fucking read. It was disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And this loops right back into the open-minded, closed-minded conversation, right? You had those people that were just willing to fucking eat it up, man. Eat it up and regurgitate that shit on every fucking social media out there. And it was just disgusting to see some of the people that were willing to just regurgitate that back onto everybody. It was like, holy crap, dude. Like, do you understand what you're doing here? Do you understand what you're falling for?
I think half of that, honestly, though, was the tribalism you were talking about earlier, like
Yeah.
the politicization. God damn it, you get what I'm saying. The political aspect of it all, right? Despite what side of whose team you're on, I don't care. I'm not the political guy, right? I have my personal thoughts outside of these shows and stuff, but like, there is a real problem with TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, right? Like,
Hmm.
love or hate the guy, fine, but there are a lot, like a big chunk of people who just, no matter what, like, they're just anti-Trump 100%. And when that got politicized and it became that thing, I think that's where a lot of that came from, was just, oh, well, Trump said this thing, or MAGA people said this thing, so we have to push the propaganda as the opposite of that thing, right? And I think that caused a lot of harm to, like, the trust that people had in politicians, which they never should have had to begin with, by the way. But that's kind of what happened there. I think a lot of that was just, you know tribalism, political tribalism.
It's it's so crazy to see. It was a big social experiment, man. It was, just to see all of the people that you used to talk to all the time just start parroting all this shit, and to see your own little tribes that you would associate with, whether it would be your work tribe, your bar tribe, your fandom tribe of a certain sports team, or your fucking bingo tribe, or jogging tribe, or your kitten playhouse tribe, whatever the fuck you're into, right? just to see, you go to these different places and the themes are different, and you can just the brainwashing,
Yeah.
and it's there's not even a lot of effort that comes down from the top. A lot of it just gets done at the bottom in all these little tribes. The work gets done for them. All they have to do is just read this line on the local news, and all the little tribes take care of the rest, man.
Yeah, and you know
It's
the biggest
incredible.
one of the biggest problems we have right now as a society, in my opinion, is that you have this insane tribalism, right? So people are constantly just focused on their own propaganda on both sides, and they're just constantly bickering and arguing with each other. And at the same time that that's happening, you have this academic class up here that's just feeding us facts about the universe and about the world we live in, right? So nobody's got the capacity to question those things coming from higher, right?
Mhm.
So it's like I think that's the biggest problem, right? This is why people still think 5G is totally safe. This is why people still don't believe in chemtrails. This is like the whole reason all this stuff is just allowed to continue to happen to us is because we're being, you know, labeled, classified, and psyoped into like our own little fucking worlds while they just are up here doing this thing and just feeding us nonsense constantly. And people just don't have the ability to think for themselves. I mean, and I'm not blaming people, right? We all got jobs, we got families, we got shit to do, right? There's only so much time in a day that you can dedicate to like doing your own research, right? So, that's one of the reasons why I started podcasting to begin with was because like I said, in my personal life, I would talk about all these crazy conspiracies to like my friends and my family. And it just got to a point where they just knew, like, oh, here's Jeff. He's about to say some shit, like here he comes. Right. And I could see over the years, like, I'm not getting through to anybody. Like nobody's, they heard what I had to say and like they're comfortable being complacent and that's fine. So I was like, hey man, maybe I should just like talk about this shit on the internet, and I'm glad I did because, there was a time there where like there was a lot of fucking people listening to my show all the time. And then I joined this show. So that's even more people that are hearing my crazy ideas, right? And I still get comments and they're like, this guy's a fucking nut, and that's all good. But I also get the other side of it where people message me and they're like, bro, like that thing you said the other day, like it hit, man. Like I went and did all this deep research because I heard you say that thing. And I'm like, see, that's it, man. That's all I care about. I'm not trying to convince people of shit. I'm only trying to convince people to like question everything. Right. Now you might come to the answer that's given to you already. Right. I'm not trying to convince you one way or the other, but if you've taken the time to go and look at the thing, you'll kind of get where I'm coming from on a lot of these aspects. Like we did that weather modification episode a few years ago, right? And I remember you and Jeremy both, or you and Jake both were like, kind of like, I don't know about the chemtrails thing, and I was like, just give me a couple weeks. Let me put together the episode, right? Because that was back when we were doing like the full presentation style. And I came in with that episode and I remember clearly, man, like during that recording of that episode, it went from like you guys basically laughing at me to by the end of it, you guys were like, man, like you're making some points here. And I was like, all right, now we're on to something here. Now we're tracking, you know. And I think for me, honestly, that was like a big turning point in this show for me, right? Because before that, I kind of just felt like a permanent guest, if you will, And then after that one was the one where I was like, okay, I think I'm actually like here, you know. We're doing
Yeah.
the thing.
Well, I'm happy. I'm happy you feel like you're at home, man. Welcome home, bud.
I fucking
Isn't
hate
it?
this show.
You want to know what's a good thing to talk about? We should, kid, if you're still in the chat, I need your permission to talk about what we talked about when I dropped you off at the airport. That's what we need to talk about because that shit is fucking wild. We'll give Kid a second to answer in the chat. If I can talk about that.
You know what we
And
got to do on this show, man? We got to go back into gateway process and we got to do it a different way because reading through that dense ass document is not the best for an audio podcast, honestly. But the information in that document is like beyond mind blowing when you really start to think about it.
I think you're 100% correct, and I think we should make a special out of it. I think we should absolutely do a gateway process special.
Kid said, "Shoot it, go for it."
All right, we'll talk about that off the air, but I think you're right. So, kid, you're gonna have to like correct me here if I start exaggerating or not, because I just remember talking to kid, dropping her off at the airport after UFO days, and I just couldn't believe what she was saying. But then she was sending me these articles from Canada, and sure enough, I, I don't know, articles or links to like little social links. I don't know what they were, but basically the gist is that people from Canada believe that if you cross the border into the United States, that they will that the border guards will ask you what your opinion of Trump is. And if you have a negative opinion of Trump, they'll arrest you. Like that's a normal opinion in Canada. Like that's a normal thing. Everybody believes that because that's what they push in the media and through the politicians. They push that shit up there.
Wouldn't surprise me.
And I was like, kid, you know how crazy that doesn't sound right at all. See, right here, there's huge stories floating of them banning people from the states. What about that fucking thing where they're stopping people from walking in the woods? What is that shit about? You heard about that?
In Canada?
Yeah.
Well,
Shit, we need to bring that up.
I mean, like I could first of all, let me go back to the first point, right? I totally would believe that they would propagandize people that way because again, it's the TDS situation, right? And you know, if they can strike the fear into the hearts of Canadians and make them think that this guy is like actually an authoritarian, like he will arrest you just for having a bad opinion about him, like of course they're going to push that narrative, right? And Canada, unfortunately for you, kid, and anybody else who's Canadian that's listening, you guys don't quite have the same rights that we have here in the States, right? So, you know, sucks to suck, I guess, but I could totally see that happening. Now, to the second point of them banning people walking in the woods, I immediately, when you say that, think Agenda 2030, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get people out of nature and out of rural areas and get them forced into smart cities, 15-minute cities. And that's just one small piece of that puzzle, right? Stop letting people enjoy nature. Stop letting people, you know, find out that that's what, because listen, we're all humans, man. Almost every single human, if you go out and spend time in nature, you will find that that is way more enjoyable than sitting behind a screen,
You
right?
just start feeling better.
Yeah, it resets
Yeah.
all your shit, you know, and you know, I can get hippie on you if I want, but I won't. But you know, we all get it, right? You go to the beach and you stare at the water for a while, like it helps, right? So they don't want that. So when they can kind of start pushing people out of there and say, "Hey, man, you can't really do that." Like, of course, man. They did that in COVID too, man. A lot. Remember, they were telling you like, "Don't go outside. Don't go
Mm-hmm.
outside." Right? Even though we all know that being outside, getting fresh air is probably the best thing for your health.
Yeah.
You know, they were like, "Stay
We're
inside."
we're social people. Stay 6 feet away.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a satanic ritual, by the way. Wearing
Mm.
masks and standing 6 feet apart from each other. They do that in certain fucking rituals, which I always thought was interesting.
I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure there was many layers to it, man. I mean, it's our nature. It's in our nature to be outside, to get vitamin D, to be social, to talk to people, to create those tribes. You know, even though tribalism has a very negative view right now, right? Because you know that's what we apply to it. Tribalism was, you know, at its core, was a survival mechanism. You know, it was something that was infused into us to help us survive. That's how we learned who was safe to be around, who wasn't gonna fucking kill us. Um, so social activities is very important for human beings. It's important for our mentality. It's important for just us being human. Um,
You see these comments that kid just put in?
no,
Um, could face a fine of up to $25,000 plus for being caught hiking. It's because the weather is not good, conditions are too dry, and forest fire prevention. We have huge censorship laws here, and the hiking camping ban is also in the maritime province of Nova Scotia, so the east side of the country, very small province. Yeah, look, man, said this 1,000 times. The whole climate crisis thing is just another part of the Agenda 2030 thing. It's just another psyop right now. A lot of like first layer conspiracies, right? They'll be like, oh, it's because they just want to carbon tax us, right? And that kind of thing. It's like, well, that's probably a small piece of it. But really, it's this idea that they want to scare us into thinking that we are the problem for nature. But in reality, we are nature, right? We are animals just as much as any other animals. We just happen to be fully conscious and self-aware and intelligent, and we have thumbs. But we're fucking animals, bro. And the whole psyop is to make us think that we are separate from nature. So you can't go hiking because it's forest fire prevention and the climate's fucked. So you can't go out there because you might fuck the climate up even more, bro. That's all it
hmm
is.
yeah. What happens if you fart out there?
But they don't
Greenhouse effect.
throw the other side of that in there, and they say, hey, well, also by the way, like we're doing weather modification, you know
Yeah, yeah,
like,
bullshit.
hey, forest fire prevention, but we could also make it rain if we want to, and that would make everything wet and there wouldn't be a forest fire, but we're not gonna do that, right?
Yeah, absolute horseshit.
Fucking assholes.
No, I thought it was wild when when she was saying that shit. Like, apparently, people were asking her if she was like nervous to come here. You know, you know, was she flying in? People were concerned that she wasn't driving because they didn't want her to have to cross the border. Um, I mean, like, dude,
This isn't even a new type of propaganda. I mean, back in World War II, when the soldiers, you know, went to, I think, Iwo Jima, right? And we took Iwo Jima. There was a lot of women and children that jumped off cliffs because they were propagandized to think that the Americans would literally eat them, that we were cannibals, right? So when we took that island and we started, like, rounding up all the
yeah,
people that were still there, the women and children, like, in the back of their mind, they were like, these guys are going to eat us. And they were throwing their babies off of cliffs and they were jumping off of them after.
yeah.
It's the same thing that they're doing to the Canadians right now, saying, hey, man, it's dangerous for you to go to America, especially if you have negative views of Trump. Like, they're going to fucking lock you up and shit. Like, what are you talking about, bro?
Right. Nobody's gonna do that to you here, man. They're not gonna do that to you. We have laws specifically against that. Our constitution blocks that shit from happening. You
Yep.
can't do that here. Um and like, the whole worry about ICE, like that's they're not that's a very touchy subject here. Um and that's diving too politically right now. I'd really try hard to not make this a political show. But the on the books, the target of ICE is to remove illegal immigrants, and that is what they are supposed to do. Um, I can't tell you what they're actually doing. I have no idea. I'm not watching the news because the news is most likely pushing false narratives.
Yeah, it's all fake. Both sides of the news, right? No
Yeah.
matter which side of which program you're listening to, like, you're getting fake information. That's the whole thing.
Yeah. I have a lot of buddies that are from California that are still in the Navy or just got out of the Navy, who are also Hispanic, that are in Southern California, down in San Diego, in I can't remember the name of the county, but it's in Camarillo, and gosh, I can't remember the other one, Camarillo, and Anyways, I'm not gonna sit here and try to think of it. Um, and they're not having problems. So I don't know what to say. I've got a couple buddies who have been out for a while, and they're not worried about it. They're American citizens. They're Hispanic. Their family is all American citizens. They're not worried about it. It just, from my point of view, it seems to be the ones that are legitimately not here legally. But
From my point of view, they're all fucking lizards, bro. Okay. And they just are harvesting your adrenochrome and all that good stuff, right? There's interdimensional psychic vampires. Listen, man, if you want to get away from the tribalism of politics, just go deeper down the rabbit hole.
hell yeah.
And you're good, bro. You'll
Yep.
realize that they're all fucking lizard people, bro.
Yep. Yeah, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle, man.
Nope.
There is no such thing as partisanship, and there's no such thing as bipartisanship.
Two wings of the
It's-
same bird, brother. That eagle faction.
It's two wings of the same bird, but also two wings of multiple birds. It's kind of a weird, fickle thing. And at the very, very core, it is one entity, like Jeff is saying. But I believe that it goes through many, many different routes before it gets to blue and red. Yeah, I
Listen,
don't.
all the blue politicians, and not all of them, but most of the blues and most of the reds, they all go to Bohemian Grove,
Yeah,
right? They all go to the Bilderberg meetings. They all go to the WEF, World Economic Forum, and
yep.
they're all controlled by the Trilateral Commission and the Council on Foreign Relations. Like, you get deep enough down the rabbit hole, the red and blue doesn't matter anymore, bro.
Yep.
Period. You know?
Yep. You see anybody going to any, like, especially like Bohemian Grove and the World Economic Forum, man. You see anybody fucking going to them, instantly lose trust for those fucking
They all worship Moloch.
Yep.
They're all in the Saturn death cult, bro. You know what I'm saying?
A stone owl.
Or they're just useful idiots working for people who worship Moloch and are in the Saturn death cult.
Honestly, I think that's what the majority of them are, just puppets. I think that's probably the best bet when it comes to the majority of the politicians. Most of them are just driven by fucking money.
For sure. And they're all psychopaths too. I mean, there was a study done, I forget the name of the study, but you have to, in order to become like a politician outside of your local government, right? Now you could talk about like your local county and stuff, like that's probably different. This is just moms and shit, out there doing their thing. But like when you get to higher levels of government and politics, like those people are literally psychopaths. Like actually, like look into it.
I don't doubt it, man. I mean, just from a definition standpoint, it makes sense to me. 100%. All right. What else can we argue about? We're not doing a lot of arguing right now.
We didn't really do any arguing today. I don't know how long we've been going for. Oh, about an hour already. That went quick.
Interesting theory. So, very interesting theory, and this is kind of where I was going with the whole asking Eurus at the end of episode 2 with Mike. Been recently going down just this obnoxious rabbit hole, man, but it's so deep, and it can like, I don't know, man, it just connects fucking everything. Jeff, fucking everything. It's stupid how it connects fucking everything. It all starts off with DMT. Okay.
Of course.
DMT, basically the gist is, I can't even tell you who to give credit to for this, because it's not just one person. This is multiple people, multiple layers of people, multiple different concepts put together that people just started brainstorming over. But basically the gist is the gist is that the DMT realm is base reality, and that we are living in a simulation with the entities in the DMT realm as the entities that are running this simulation. Those entities are also the entities that are behind UFOs, alien abductions, everything from Skinwalker Ranch creature sightings to Bigfoot, other cryptozoological critters, paranormal activity, spiritual ghosts and such things, where they're testing different technologies to try to mingle with their simulation that they created, because they created this universe that we live in, and it's not necessarily that we're even like players, as in like like controlled avatars, right? And it's not necessarily that we're even in like a matrix like setting. We do exist, and we're not in some sort of like bathtub thing like in the movie Matrix. In base reality, which is in the DMT realm, we actually do exist in this created reality that is influenced by our outside creators, if you will. And that when we take DMT, or we have like near death experiences, we our consciousness goes into like this it's like a purgatory kind of area where it's between the realms, where it's kind of like where they can get to and where we can get to, but neither of us can fully cross over into each other's realms. They did create us. Well, they can come into ours, but they can't. I don't know, man. I
Let me help
wish
you
I.
out. Let me
Yeah.
help you out. So, um, this is exactly what David Icke talks about. Okay.
Is it really?
Yeah. So remember I sent a link to you back in the day and it was like a 9-hour fucking David Icke talk at Wembley Stadium. And you're like, I'm not watching this shit. Right.
Well, yeah, I did. I watched it.
Did you watch the whole thing?
No, it was like 7 minutes of it, but
Okay.
yeah.
Well, you got to get the first 2 hours is just, it's like anything else. But listen, I'll break it down for you from the David Icke perspective of what you're talking about. In his theory, and I actually jive with this a lot because I've actually taken DMT multiple times. So I've experienced this myself. The way it works is basically the universe is it's pumping out just like what Mike talks about. It's an ether of all frequencies or all resonances, right? At the same time that's being pushed through this ether, right? And um there are entities that at some point in the past have manipulated the information in light that we perceive. So it's not that they created the universe, they created the altered version of the information in light that we perceive and decode as our reality. So they didn't create the universe, they created the false perception of the universe that we can perceive. Okay, that's number one. Um, when you take DMT or psilocybin or near death experience, which I've never had a near death experience, but I've had all the other experiences. I've always said this. What's happening is it's unfiltering that part of your mind that is receiving the information in light. Okay. And like Mike said, where you're URT said, Ura said that when you're on those substances, that it expands the amount of information that you're taking in, right? It opens up the doorway so you're getting more of the data than what we're normally getting. Okay. Um, and when that happens, you encounter these entities that do exist in this universe with us. They're all around us all the time. Some people call them angels and demons, some people call them interdimensionals. Whatever you want to call them, it doesn't matter. They exist, and we just can't, we have no idea that they're there because again, we're stuck in this little sliver of light that we can perceive and decode, right?
Yeah.
um but yeah, the universe is pumping out all of the frequencies all of the time. The holographic projection of the universe is the universe. It's everything. We're only catching this tiny little 0.001% of it. And our minds are decoding that and telling us this is what reality is. Right. But yeah, there's a whole other spectrum, both ways, right? Higher and lower, that we just don't get until you go into those altered states of consciousness. And you don't have to be on psychedelics and you don't have to have a near death experience. The gateway process talked about this, right? You can manipulate the brain waves using audio frequencies, right? Put yourself into a theta mind state or whatever the case might be, right? When you're dreaming is
Hmm.
another one of these states, or when you're on the cusp of sleep, right? You're in one of these altered consciousness states, and you're you're seeing more of what reality actually is, right? The Saturn death cult people that I always talk about, in their belief, they worship Saturn, but not the planet Saturn, right? That we think of. They're worshiping something called the Demiurge. Yaldabaoth is the name of this entity, and Yaldabaoth thinks it's God. It created the physical universe, i.e., the manipulation of the information in the light, and it thinks that it's the all-seeing God of the universe, right? And through the, like, if you go layers down, Yaldabaoth, right? The next layer under that is what David Icke calls is the archons. And the archons are the entities that pump out or manipulate that light information and make us see things like the grays or like the reptilians or like the cryptids, right? It's just a way for them to kind of steer and control our consciousness into a certain box, right? But in reality, they're outside the box with abilities to manipulate, right? And then I could go way down the rabbit hole on this type of shit, but the Saturn people, they worship and believe that, like, that's their religion, this entity. And before the manipulation of the light, before our information field was shrunk, right? They call that the golden age, right? And in the golden age, right, we were essentially immortal beings. We lived for thousands of years, just like religious people talk about, right? Like Noah was 800 fucking years old and all these things, right? It's the same but different. Um, and they want to bring back this golden age by worshiping Yaldabaoth, the Demiurge, Saturn, Satan. It's all the same stuff that's just been kind of like spread amongst societies and secret societies and stuff like that.
Man, I just think it's so just the simple concept that people are seeing the same things in the DMT realm that they are in like alien abduction stories, like the mantis people,
Yep. The mantis
right?
people or the mantis beings are a thing. Again, it's just an unfiltering of, I mean, think about it this way. Like, let's use your more scientific perspective of this. You know that we only see a small spectrum of light, right? We don't
Yep.
see X-rays, we don't see gamma rays, like none of this stuff, infrared, like we can't see that with our eyes, right?
Yep.
Now, that is just like in this 3D realm that we live in, right? We don't
Hmm.
see those light spectrums. But information, light is information, right?
Yeah.
Light is information, and we're only getting, again, 0.01 or whatever the number is percent of the information, right? When you take psychedelics or you go into an altered state of consciousness somehow, you start taking in 0.02, 0.03, 0.1, 1% of the information, right? Depending on the dosage or the level of your altered state of consciousness. So you start to experience more of actual reality. So when you say things like the DMT realm is the base layer of reality, it is. When you're in the DMT realm, you're literally seeing more of what reality actually is.
So just a few things, because I haven't really dove into the whole DMT thing. This is really like one of my very first dives into DMT, and it's fucking wild, man.
You should try it one day.
Oh, dude, I want to. I fucking want to, man. I do. I really do. Maybe when the kids are older. I got too many young kids right now. But so correct me if I'm wrong, right? But from what I've read so far, I have some interesting books. I'll have to share them with you. They're fucking cool, man. I think you'll dig them. So apparently DMT, get you don't get used to it. It doesn't get let's say like ayahuasca, right? The more you use it, the more it takes to get you to the same point.
Yes and no. You do build a tolerance to DMT, but the tolerance goes away very quickly. Like if you try to the term is like in like blast off, right? If you take enough of a dose, like you'll actually break through into the DMT realm, right? If you try to do that like 10 times in the day, you're not going to be able to do that, right? You kind of have to take small breaks. You can't do it every day. It has to be something that you do every so often because you do build a tolerance to it. But the tolerance doesn't last very long.
So, and then the other thing is that the actual high from DMT doesn't last long either. And then people that are studying this, the people that have actually studied DMT, I forget their names. There was one actual person who studied it back in like the 60s or 70s, and there's been a couple since that have really taken over the helm. Um, but it's a very brief high. It's intense, but there seems to be some sort of chemical makeup in our brain that identifies the use of it and triggers us off. It says, "Oh shit, okay," and turns it off. Um, Sort of like a kill switch or like an e stop kind of thing. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know like why or how that works, but I would say that jives with the experience for sure, right? Because like I'll tell you my very first DMT experience. Basically I smoked it, and um as I was like exhaling, I laid down on the bed, and all of the colors that you can imagine, more colors than you've ever seen. Okay. Like colors you didn't even know existed started to swirl around me. I was basically going through a wormhole, if you will. Okay. And this is why they call it blasting off, because you get the sense that you're flying through this tunnel of colors. And in this cycling of colors, right? We've all seen like the tool imagery, or like, these screensavers where you're like in this like trippy, like, you know, pool of colors that are doing like trippy, like fractal stuff. You're in that, right? And while you're in that phase of it, blasting off is when you encounter the clockwork elves, or what I experienced. I would more equate them to like clowns, right? It was like a clown experience. I felt like I was in a circus tent or something, like going through this wormhole. And then at some point, you break through, right after the blasting off. You break through, and when you break through, that's when you're in this DMT realm. right? Now, for me personally, that first time when I broke through, where I ended up was in the void, right? I had a sense that I was in deep space, but there was no stars around me, right? There's no like nebulas, no stars, nothing around me. I was just like in this void that just felt like I was in deep space somewhere. And I felt as if I was laying on my back, which I was. I was laying on the bed, but I was in zero gravity, but still laying down. I don't know. I think because we're here, like the senses from the body still kind of track through or whatever. So I'm laying down in the void, and there was an entity, a female entity, by the way, that was giant. It was probably hundreds of thousands, I don't know, 1,000 feet tall from what I could sense. I couldn't see her, but I could sense her. And she was holding my head, just like, he's got the whole world in his hands type of thing, right? Like, was just cupping the back of my head as I was laying there in this void. And that female entity was just basically telepathically communicating to me that I was good, I was okay, everything was fine. And it was a complete sense of like nirvana, like ecstasy, 100% comfort, no fear, no anxiety, like the most chill, like loving experience emotionally that I've ever experienced. And in that state, I literally witnessed all of time from beginning to end. Like I literally watched them build the fucking pyramids. I watched like all of the things happen in the world. Now that was probably my own mind taking information that I was taught and told throughout my life and like trying to like fit that into this void that I was in, if you will, right? Like I don't think I actually saw time go by, but I know I existed there for all eternity. I was an eternal being, right? And then when I woke up, it was like like you said, it was like a kill switch. It wasn't like I slowly came back out from the void. It was like I opened my eyes from a dream. Like I just fucking opened my eyes. And I looked at my buddy and I was like, yo, how long has it been? And he was like, 12 minutes. And I was just like, tears started rolling down my face. I was like, holy shit, dude, 12 minutes. And I started telling him all this stuff, and it was like, but that was like the whole first experience. And I've had other experiences and they were all like similar. I almost always ended up in some very positive um realm where there was no fear or anxiety, but you went through basically an ego death or a near death experience to get there. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
You went through that blast off situation, which is terrifying. You think you're dying.
That's fucking crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's. I don't know. I think there's a lot there. I've heard a lot. I've heard a lot about. Um, I've heard a lot about how DMT is supposedly released during death, but from what I'm reading in my research is that it's not necessarily even true. Um, but it's not necessarily not true. They don't know where that came from, where the original um concept behind the idea of DMT being released in your brain um or somewhere in your body, most likely in your brain, I'm guessing, or in your spinal
In
column.
your lungs, actually, from what I understand.
Really?
Yeah. Well, from what I also understand that there's dimethyltryptamine in every living thing. Like you can go pluck a blade of grass out of the ground and like you can synthesize DMT from it.
Hmm. Um but it's I don't know, man, it's fucking wild. It's it's it, I don't have words for it, man. It's a rabbit hole that I wasn't expecting to get this lost down, and it's a major detour in plans that I've had that I'm just not going to get to uh because of this.
I think it's a good rabbit hole to go down, man. I mean, I've had like other experiences on psilocybin. Um, one time I had eaten some mushrooms and I was laying in bed and while I was laying there with my eyes closed, there was, again, every color you could never imagine coming out of me in sacred geometric patterns. They were like pulsating out of me, right? And like moving away from me. And as they did that, they were making like this fractal geometric shape and pattern going away. Again, I felt complete bliss the whole time. And in the matrix, if you will, of this fractal stuff that was moving away from me, a face formed, right? And it was kind of a vague face. I couldn't like see like in super high detail, but it was like a bearded man figure, right? Like a, imagine what people think that like God or Jesus or Muhammad or any of these figures looked like, right? Like this bearded man of some kind. Um, and same thing, it was like comforting. It was like telling me like, "Yo, you're good, man." Like, and it was like a feeling of love that I had. And when I came out of that trip, I immediately thought to myself, like, I just experienced whatever it is that our ancestors experienced that made them come up with these religious ideas, right? Like they must have seen that same thing. And that's what prompted them to write down, like, hey, man, just like the female entity from the DMT trip, like, I experienced the same thing our ancestors experienced. And when they came out of that, they wrote it down. They were like, bro, there's an entity that's like all seeing, all knowing, omnipotent, all loving, right? And it's there, And I think that that's what they experienced. That's what they wrote down. And those stories just tracked through time to become religions and spiritualities and all these types of things, right? But I've experienced both the male and the female energies in this altered state. And both of them were like profound experiences for sure, like life changing. Like the way
Mm.
that I see the world is different because of those things.
Yeah, I think it'd be really cool to go through that, man. I
Yeah.
once the kids get older, I can start playing with all that. I can't do it right now.
Yeah. Psilocybin's a little different. It takes more time. That's an 8-hour situation, and you have to take a lot more of it to get to that state. Whereas DMT, like I said, it's a 12, 15-minute situation. You don't need a lot of it. You're in and out of there and you're back to baseline. You're back to zero in like 20 minutes with DMT, whereas mushrooms is like a whole day.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't know about mushrooms. Uh, but DMT. I don't know, man.
But
Like,
you can get those altered states, like I said, without doing psychedelics, right? Like we've talked about it with the gateway thing. There's meditative practices you can do. I've
yeah,
never done them. I'm too impatient to like meditate and get to that level, of course. But people do it, and you can also use tools like audio, like binaural beats and stuff, right? If you get the right binaural beats at the right frequencies, I'm sure that'll trigger it, right?
yeah. There's supposed to be a lot of different ways that you can do it. Um, there's that. There's that. What's that? The dark vacation or something like that. You ever heard about that? Like the people go and they sit in the caves for like
Oh
weeks at
yeah,
a time.
yeah. It's just sensory deprivation.
Yeah, but it's like this new fucking thing that they're doing, man.
I
It's
think that's the same thing, though. I think they're just finding new ways to do sensory deprivation, right? Like,
yeah,
because if you go in a sensory deprivation tank, right, it's completely dark, it's quiet, you're floating in or body temperature water that's got a certain level of salt in it, so you're like literally floating in this water. Um, it just cuts off all sensory inputs, and if you stay in that state long enough, you trick your brain into thinking that you're sleeping. Your brain goes into this theta brainwave situation, and when you're in that altered state of consciousness, you experience a lot of these things.
darkness retreat is what it's called. And it's supposed to. I mean, it takes a long time, but with absolutely zero light for days upon days, you can get a prolonged effect of like similar to DMT from just being in a light deprived environment.
I believe it. I believe it. I mean, you could do a short version of this in your house, right? You could just shut the lights off, go in your room, and spend a whole day in there, right? And you'll have a similar experience because again you're tricking your brain into thinking you're sleeping, and just like when you're sleeping you dream, right? And you see all kinds of stuff in your dream, right?
Mhm.
um those things aren't necessarily happening in front of your eyeballs, they're happening in your third eye or in your mind, if you will, right? And it's like it's the same thing, you know. And to answer the Moore's question, is there grades of DMT, like good shit versus bad shit? I'm sure there is, man, right? Like the thing is it's synthesized. So, you know, unless you're doing it yourself and you know the chemistry, you're getting it from somebody else. And that motherfucker is gonna cut it, right? They're gonna, you know, their methods of synthesization, is that a word? Synthesis,
Synthesizing.
synthesizing, whatever. Like their methods of doing that might not be clean and things like that. So of course there's going to be different grades to it. Um, you know, especially now you have like fentanyl and stuff like that floating around. Who knows what the fuck you're getting? So I wouldn't suggest going and just like hitting up your boy and being like, "Yo, let me get some." No, no, no. Right? Like if you can get down to do it like an ayahuasca retreat, do that. Right? Like, um, I was lucky enough to try a lot of this stuff. You know, 15 years ago when I was like in my early 20s, before a lot of like the sketchy stuff is going around now. So I wouldn't do it
Also,
now because I'd just be too fucking paranoid, get fentanyl or something. But
be honest with you, I'd probably go the realm of like signing up for some university trial. That's probably the way I'd go.
yeah, like intravenous, you know, lab controlled,
Hmm.
doctor supervised situation. Yeah, that would probably be the way to go, you know.
I mean, I don't get me wrong. I mean, I'd love to just hang out at home and you know, drop TMT, man. But
Yeah.
it, the shit you get on the streets probably be way too fucking scary
It's
nowadays.
just sketchy, bro. But you know, that's the thing with DMT is like you exit this reality or you unfilter this reality to the point where you have no idea. Like, you know, it
Mhm.
doesn't matter where you're at. You could be under a fucking bridge. Like, you're not going to be under that bridge during your trip. I'll tell you that.
Mhm.
You know, whereas if you take psilocybin, you know, set and setting is very important because it's a slower
Set, setting,
situation.
and mood.
Set, setting, and mood is super important when you take other psychedelics because it just doesn't hit the same way, right? Where DMT is like a light switch, you know?
Yeah, yeah. From what I understand, DMT is not even like the way people describe it. You go to a similar place, right? If you uh psilocybin, there's like three levels of dosage, right? You have the light dosage, which will just slow down the world for you, right? It just doesn't really do much.
Yeah,
This
shit gets trippy. It's similar to a psilocybin trip in a way. Like shit's just weird, you know.
and then the middle one will just make you want to fuck everything, and then the really high dosage is when you just start seeing shit.
Yeah,
Um,
you go to a different reality at that point.
but yeah, man, it seems fucking awesome. It really does.
Yeah, spectrum. There's something like 5-MeO DMT and something else. There's various forms, and that's why like I've never done ayahuasca, but that's probably the better way to do it, because the way that ayahuasca works is I don't remember, it's a leaf and a vine basically. I don't remember which one does what, but like let's just say that the leaf is the 5-MeO DMT, right? The vine is the inhibitor for um so basically when you eat it, there's an enzyme in your stomach that breaks down 5-MeO DMT so you don't have a hallucinogenic experience. But the vine, or maybe it's vice versa, one of the components of it inhibits that enzyme that breaks down the 5-MeO DMT so that when it processes through your liver, you experience that DMT trip for hours rather than 10 or 15 minutes.
I love it. That's crazy.
Yep.
Is it the same?
It's the same. Um, yes, it's the same chemical reaction that's going on in your brain. it's like with anything else. Like if you smoke something versus eat something, as long as the enzymes in your stomach don't inhibit the results from you eating it, it's the same. It's basically the same. It's just prolonged, right? So, if, for instance, if like I'm hitting this vape, right? I know it's
Mhm.
gross. Fuck you guys. Um, the nicotine going through my lungs,
Ew.
the nicotine going through my lungs and causing the chemical reaction in my brain is relatively short, right? Like you get that quick fix, and then within a few minutes, like the effects of the nicotine go away. This is why people chain smoke, right? Because
Mhm.
it just goes away. Whereas if you ate a handful of nicotine and swallowed it, like you're gonna get nicotine sick. It's gonna be the same result happening in your brain. It's just gonna last for a lot longer. So same with edibles, right? If you smoke marijuana, you know, yeah, you're gonna be feeling good for a while. If you eat it, you're gonna be feeling good for a lot longer.
Well, ugh. What do you think, man?
Hour and a half.
I think 10:30 sounds like a good bedtime for you.
Yeah,
Look at you. You're all tuckered out.
I gotta work in the Florida sun tomorrow.
You get to lay on clean sheets.
Ooh, Crystal put clean sheets on the bed.
Oh man, you're spoiled.
I know, she's good to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like him. What do you want?
I think you should punish him with some homemade muffins or something crazy like that. Really teach him a lesson.
She made an Oreo cheesecake. It's in the fridge.
That'll teach him.
I
That'll.
was gonna make homemade granola bars, but we bought the store granola bars at Walmart the other day, so
Yep.
I'll wait and make those another time.
Oh man, you're gonna get fat, bro.
No, he's not.
No, I got a high
Yeah,
metabolism, and I work in the Florida sun.
you'll
Yeah,
get there.
like,
You'll get there.
sweats everything out all day.
Yeah, you'll get there.
I was fat at one point in my life. I used to drive a truck, and I gained a lot of weight driving a truck.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that. Yeah.
yeah. Well, you'll get there. She'll make sure of it.
The nicotine keeps me thin.
All right. Well, yeah, I think that's it, man. I got a long week of work ahead of me. Like I said, make sure you're here next week. I think Sundays. I think we're in for a surprise. I think it's going to be a pretty cool episode. I think
Better
she
be.
said. I think she said that she's going to be doing it at 3 o'clock her time in the morning.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Was she in the
So
UK or something?
I think she said Ireland.
Ireland.
Is she Irish?
I think so. Yeah.
I hope she's got a heavy Irish accent.
Me too.
I think she is. I think
Sick.
she is. But it's it's I think it's gonna be a really freaking cool episode, man.
Oh shite!
Oh shite. I think it's gonna be great. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. All right. Well, you got anything? What do you got coming up on Shadowban this week, man?
Nothing planned. We're just gonna fire from the hip like we always do. Crystal's been working on the website, so hopefully that merch is up and running here in the next week or two, something like that. I don't know. We'll see.
You gonna get her microphone working?
I'll work on
No.
that this week. I'll work on
No,
that.
you won't.
Listen, in my defense, I did look for a fucking mixer the other day. We went to the store and I was like
Did.
browsing around to try to find something. I'm just gonna have to order something, I think. I'm gonna try the virtual mixer thing and see if I can get that to work.
Just
If
so
it
you
doesn't-
guys know, I've offered, and he won't do it.
Listen, I don't like it. He already bought the mic and sent it to me, and then I felt like a bum. I was like, damn, this guy bought something and sent it to me. What am I, a fucking child? So I don't want you to buy anything else and send it to me, bro. I got money.
I invested in the podcast.
It's all right.
Anyways, all right.
I got an ego, bro. I need to take another DMT trip and fucking kill my ego a little bit.
Well, maybe I'm just trying to make you feel bad, so you come to UFO days next year.
Not until you come down to
Are
Florida,
you
brother.
coming to Florida?
I think I am actually.
You know the rules.
Okay, well,
I think I am.
Well, let me know.
If we're still here,
I got a nice,
Bye.
this couch right here folds out into a bed.
it does.
You're good to go.
Am I gonna be able to fit my whole family on that?
Oh.
Yeah, I
well,
got
we got hotels.
The rest of your family will fit on this. You
it.
could sleep on the floor with the cats.
That'll work. I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll sleep
right.
out there with a skunk ape.
Nah,
Nice
we.
enough we don't even let the cats stay in this room. at
I'll, I'll
night.
I'll hit up my mom. She got like a king size fucking air mattress or something.
Nah, we'll figure it out. Maybe the kids will hang out with their grandfather for a few days over in St. Pete.
There you go. That's not far from
Not
here.
even that
It's a couple
far.
hours.
Yeah. All right. Well, that has been another riveting episode of the Infinite Rabbit Hole. Yeah. All right. Until next time, travelers. We'll see you right here in the next fork in the path of the Infinite Rabbit Hole. Bye, everybody.
Bye.